Part 43.14, Surah Az-Zukhruf, the Ornaments of Gold. The sudden hour and the eternal bonds of the Mutaqun, As-salamu Alaykum. Welcome back to Sufi Essence with Hammad Syed. In our previous session, we sat with the wisdom of Isa, alayhi salam, and his identification as the knowledge of the hour. We learned that the straight path is the simple, unadulterated worship of Allah as our only Lord. Today, we move from the signs of the hour to the arrival of the hour itself. We are exploring verses 66 through 70 in this profound passage. We encounter the Baghtah, the sudden, unexpected arrival of judgment that catches the heedless by surprise. We will analyze the terrifying reality of worldly friendships turning into enmity. Save for those rooted in taqwa, we will witness the divine call to the Mutaqun, those who believed in the signs and surrendered their wills. Finally, we will see the invitation to the ultimate Zukhruf, the gardens of paradise where joy is eternal. Welcome back to the Surah Az-Zukhruf masterclass. In this session, we will examine the psychology of surprise, why the hour arrives while people are unaware. We will explore the alchemy of friendship, distinguishing between bonds of the ego and bonds of the spirit. We will deconstruct the fearless state of the believers who are told, "No fear shall there be upon you." Finally, we will reflect on the entry into joy at Kulo al-Jannah, where the soul is finally reunited with its true purpose. This is a journey from the sudden terror of the world to the eternal peace of the presence of Allah. Verse 66. The sudden arrival Kanzela Man Quran, Surah Az-Zukhruf, the Ornaments of Gold. Chapter 43, verse 66. Are they waiting for anything but the hour, that it should come upon them suddenly while they are unaware? Hal yanzuruna ilasada and tatiyahom, batatahom la yasharan. Are they waiting for anything except the hour, that it should come upon them suddenly while they perceive not? This verse addresses the state of ghafla heedlessness. The Zukhruf of the world acts as a sensory shroud, making the most certain event in existence, the hour, seem like a distant impossibility. The word batatan suddenly implies a disruption of the routine. People will be buying, selling, arguing, and pursuing their ornaments when the cosmic curtain is pulled back. In the Sufi Essence, this verse is a call to wakefulness. We are told that the hour comes while they perceive not, la yasharan. This perception is not a lack of intelligence, but a lack of sure inner consciousness. When we are obsessed with the ornaments of gold, our spiritual senses are numbed. We become like people sleeping in a burning house. The Sufi lives in a state of pre-perception, treating every moment as if the hour is now, so that when it does arrive batatan, he is already standing in the light of readiness. Verse 67. The enmity of friends. Kanzela Man Quran, Surah Az-Zukhruf, the Ornaments of Gold. Chapter 43, verse 67. Friends on that day will be enemies to one another, except the God-conscious. Alakilo yama idham libadne, adwan alel motakin. Close friends on that day will be enemies to one another, except for the Mutaqun, the God-conscious. This is one of the most sobering sociological verses in the Quran. It describes the total collapse of worldly social structures. The word alakila refers to kala, a friend so close that their love has penetrated the kula, the interstices of the heart. Yet on that day, these deep bonds turn into ado and enmity. Why? Because most worldly friendships are based on mutual zukhruf, shared sins, shared vanity, or shared distractions from Allah. When the consequences of those distractions appear, the friends blame each other for their ruin. In the Sufi Essence, we learn that any bond not rooted in Allah is a debt of hatred waiting to be collected. Only the Mutaqun, those whose friendship was a means to reach the beloved will, find their bonds reinforced. Their love was in Allah, and because Allah is eternal, their friendship is eternal. Verse 68. The divine reassurance. Kanzela Man Quran, Surah Az-Zukhruf, the Ornaments of Gold. Chapter 43, verse 68. O my servants, and no fear shall there be upon you this day, nor shall you grieve. Ya ibadila kofan alakumi lawa la antum tazainin. O my servants, no, there is no fear for you this day, nor shall you grieve. Yes. The world dissolves in terror. Allah addresses a specific group with the most intimate of titles. Ya ibadi, O my servants. This is the peace of the servant. While the Azab factions and the followers of Pharaoh are in agony, the Avad servants are wrapped in divine security. They are told no fear lakafan, meaning no anxiety about the future hand. No grief latazanin, meaning no regret over the past. In the Sufi Essence, this is the station of Rida contentment. Because these souls spent their worldly lives fearing Allah, they are granted a day where they fear nothing else. They traded the ornaments of gold for the ornament of servanthood, and on the day of truth, that trade is proven to be the only successful transaction. Verse 69. The criteria of belief, Kanzul Iman, Quran, Surah Az-Zukhruf, the ornaments of gold, chapter 43, verse 69. Those who believed in our signs and were Muslims submitting to our will, Aladina Amanu, Bayotina Wakanu, Muslimin. Those who believed in our signs and were Muslims submitting to us. Allah defines who these servants are. They're characterized by two things: Iman, faith in the signs, and Islam, total submission. They did not just know the truth, they surrendered to it. They saw the ayatina, our signs, in the miracles of the prophets, the drowning of Pharaoh, and in the wisdom of Isa alayhi salam. They allowed those signs to change their direction. In the Sufi Essence, this verse emphasizes that belief is the internal light, while submission is the external proof. To be a Muslim in this context is to be like water having no shape of one's own, but taking the shape of the divine command. These are the people who looked at the Zukhruf of the world and said, "This is not my Lord," just as Ibrahim alayhi salam did. Their reward is the direct address of the Creator. Verse 70. The invitation to joy, Kanzul Iman, Quran, Surah Az-Zukhruf, the ornaments of gold. Chapter 43, verse 70. Enter paradise, you and your spouses, being delighted. Udikola, Janata and Tamwa, Azwajukum Tubarun. Enter paradise, you and your spouses, made happy, delighted. The word Tubarun is extremely rich. It denotes a state of habra, a joy that is so intense it manifests as a visible radiance and beauty on the face. It is the ultimate ornaments of gold of the hereafter. The invitation includes Azwajukum, your spouse's partners. In the Sufi Essence, this signifies the completion of love. The friendships of the Mutaqun mentioned in verse 67 are now perfected in the gardens. This is not just a physical entry, but a spiritual homecoming. After the sudden hour and the painful day, the servants are told to enter Udkulu. This is the moment where the straight path ends at the gate of the beloved. The Zukhruf of paradise is not a distraction from Allah, but a reflection of His infinite beauty. To be made happy by Allah is to reach the end of all desire, extending the philosophical excavation, the physics of the heart. In this 14th movement of Surah Az-Zukhruf, we witness the grand reversal. The world of Zukhruf is built on the illusion of stability. We build cities, form alliances, and plan for decades, all under the assumption that the hour is a theoretical concept. Verse 66 shatters this. The Baghtah suddenness is the ultimate reality check. The Sufi Essence teaches us that the hour is not just a chronological event at the end of time. It is a vertical reality that can intersect our horizontal lives at any second. If we are unaware, la yashurin, it is because we have allowed the density of the material world to block our spiritual perception. The suddenness is only terrifying to the one who is rooted in the temporary. To the one rooted in the eternal, the hour is the long-awaited lifting of the veil. The deconstruction of friendship in verse 67 is a profound lesson in spiritual ecology. Most human relationships are transactional or distractional. We love people because they make us feel good, because they share our hobbies, or because they help us achieve our worldly goals. But on the day of judgment, when the Zukhruf is stripped away, these motivations are revealed as hollow. If a friend helped you forget Allah, you will hate them on that day for being an accomplice in your self-destruction. But the Mutaqun God-conscious have a transcendental bond. They love each other for Allah. This means their friendship is anchored in a third point that is outside of time. Their love is a triangle, not a line, because they pointed each other toward the straight path, there. Reunion in the hereafter is a celebration of a shared victory. The divine address in verse 68, "O my servants," is the highest honor imaginable. In the worldly Zukhruf, everyone wants to be a master or a king. Pharaoh claimed he was the Lord. But in the presence of the real, the only title that carries weight is servant abd. This verse removes khawf, fear, and husn, grief. In the Sufi path, These two emotions are the shackles of the nafs. We fear what we might lose, and we grieve for what we have already lost. By removing these, Allah is granting the believers total presence. They are no longer bound by the linear time of the world. They are in the eternal now of the divine presence. This is the reward for those who Muslimized their wills, those who made their desires subservient to the divine desire. Verse 69 defines the DNA of the saved. It is Iman and Islam, often. We think of these as dry theological categories, but in the Sufi essence they are vibrational states. Iman is the heart, seeing the signs of Allah in everything, from the Nile to the wisdom of Isa alayhi salam. Islam is the body acting upon that vision. These are the people who didn't just talk about the straight path, they walked it. They were the ones who, when faced with the ornaments of gold, recognized them as a test. They are the Mutaqun, because they were grounded in the real, while the rest of the world was light. Istighfaf and easily blown away by shaitan, these souls were heavy with the weight of certainty. Finally, the invitation to paradise in verse 70. With the word tubarun suggests a state of artistic perfection. The root of the word relates to beauty. Ink and the embellishment of a garden. It implies that the believers themselves become ornaments of the divine beauty. They are not just in paradise, they're delighted by the very essence of it. The mention of spouses as wajikam reminds us that the human need for companionship is not destroyed, but glorified. In paradise, every bond is a reflection of the bond with Allah. There is no more jadal argumentation, no more azab factions, and no more Baghtah surprise. There is only the habra, the radiant joy of being exactly where you were created to be. This section of the surah serves as the great filter. It separates the pharaonic path of pride from the prophetic path of servanthood. It shows us that the ornaments of gold are a trap if they lead to ghafla heedlessness, but they are a sign if they lead to shukr gratitude. The suddenness of the hour is a mercy for the believer, for it ends the grief of the world and begins the joy of the gardens. Let us examine our friendships today. Are they enmities in waiting, or are they eternal bonds of taqwa? Let us strive to be among those addressed as Ya Ibadi, for that call is the only one that will matter when the Baghtah. The Zukhruf of this world is like a colorful dream that ends abruptly upon waking. The habra of paradise is the waking world that never ends. Every verse in this section is a bell ringing to wake us up before the Baghtah rings the final bell of history. We are invited to enter into a state of peace salam that begins here, in the heart of the servant, and finds its completion in the gardens of delight. The straight path is the bridge we build now, out of the materials of faith and submission, to carry us across the painful day into the presence of the merciful. All praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds. We have witnessed the suddenness of the hour and the eternal security of the God-conscious. In our next session, we will explore the specific ornaments and delights of paradise and the final fate of those who rejected the truth. Hadith. The Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him, said, "A man is upon the religion of his friend. Let one of you look at whom he befriends." Sunan Abi Dawud. This hadith is the perfect commentary on verse 67. It explains why worldly friends become enemies on the day of judgment because they influenced each other's religion or way of life. If that influence led away from Allah, the friendship becomes a source of eternal regret. But if the friendship was rooted in the religion of taqwa, it survives the Baghtah and continues into the habra of paradise. Dua, O Allah, the Lord of the worlds. Protect us from the ghafla heedlessness that blinds us to the Baghtah's suddenness of the hour. O Allah, grant us friends who are Mutaqun, who remind us of you when we forget, and who pull us toward the straight path. Save us from friendships that will turn into enmity on the day of judgment. O Arhim, count us among those whom you address as Ya Ibadi, removing from our hearts all fear of the future and all grief over the past. Make our faith sincere and our submission total. O Wahhab, grant us and our spouses the entry into paradise, and make our faces radiant with the habra of your presence. Let us find our true Zukhruf in the gardens of delight, where the only ornament is your pleasure. All praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds. Ameen.